totally happy with it being more of an interactive presentation than me just kind of speaking at you. But as Jerry said, I'm Alexandra Gates, Director of Product Marketing here. Been with Extreme for a little bit over a year, but I came from the Aerohive acquisition. I was at Aerohive for 6 years. So the cloud product is actually came from Aerohive and was evolved into an Extreme Networks solution. So very, very familiar with that there. And so that's what I'm going to be spending the most time talking about today. Just kind of to set the stage, since Extreme acquired Aerohive now, 14, 15 months ago, we've been striving to create what we call an effortless experience for networking on campus. We've kind of broken it up into these 3 different categories. We're trying to make it simple, and that encompasses the fact that it's easy to deploy, easy to maintain it, easy to support it, and the management platform really aids in that. It's easy to, it's an intuitive system. So we do have some components that are self-driving. They're using real-time data that's collected from the network. And then most importantly, we're trying to make the experience of our customers consistent. So whatever hardware platforms you choose, whatever network system you're wanting to integrate, you have a consistent experience across the different tools that we offer. And I'll talk about how we're containerizing some different applications in the cloud as well to make it even more consistent with our customers. And this slide is definitely a bit of an eye chart, but I wanted to talk about cloud management in general from a technical perspective. And just if you can make me more familiar, I know you're currently using Cisco. Do you have physical controllers on site? Is that what you're using for management? Anyone still there? You guys using Cisco controllers to manage the access points or switches, routers?
Your line is muted. You'll have to unmute, guys. Sorry. So Alex, that is my understanding that they do.
Okay. So yeah, just, differences between kind of an on-premises controller versus cloud here. Cloud was introduced about 10 years ago. The goal was to kind of move some things that used to sit on site, move it into this theoretical cloud. There's typically virtualized, single tenant. There were definitely a lot of problems back in 2010 with cloud, but as more people started to adopt it, definitely become more robust, more reliable, more secure, of course. So kind of as vendors, people started moving more towards having cloud offerings. So think Cisco, Meraki, Aruba released a cloud, and kind of that was Extreme's goal in acquiring Aerohive, was to get this Extreme Cloud IQ platform. And last year, I was sitting in a 3rd generation type cloud in terms of the capabilities and the functionality. And this year, we were able to migrate into a 4th gen cloud. Biggest technical component here is the use of microservices, particularly containerized microservices. It's a lot more robust way to manage the network. It's a lot more fail-safe. So all of the components can operate independently, but they can also operate, in coordination with each other. And we actually achieved 100% uptime over the last 15 months, meaning we never had a cloud outage. We never had, a blockage of our customers wanting to get in and make changes to their network or viewing data. So really proud of that. And as we move into 2021 and forward beyond that, we're always innovating on the actual cloud infrastructure component. So looking at things like unlimited data retention, we actually already released that. So for the life of your license in the cloud, you'll have access to all of your historical data, that 100% uptime I mentioned, but also some cool things about licensing, kind of manager of manager solutions. So we're always focused on innovating, not just from a product perspective, but also just the underlying technology as well. That brings us into what Extreme Cloud IQ is. And this is our management platform that manages all the gear, whether it be access points, switches, or routers that Extreme offers. It's an application and it's actually cloud agnostic. can be deployed in a Microsoft Azure environment, AWS, Google Cloud, in a container. So we allow our customers to choose how they want to deploy it. And that's for the actual structure as well. You can see the deployment agnostic line there. You can deploy it in the public cloud, which is what probably 90% of our customers end up doing. It's the most hands-off. We manage it all from an infrastructure perspective. You can do private cloud, which is kind of a gated off version of cloud. And then you also have the choice of deploying the same tool on premises, which would be more on-site behind your firewall. It's just an OVA file that you download. But again, the functionality remains the same with the platform. And then the management licenses are not tied to specific serial numbers, which is nice. So you can move licenses between access point switches or routers. If you ever want to upgrade equipment, that license would be able to mature with the gear as well as you swap that out. And on the left-hand side, there's that little box that says Essentials. We're working on integrating applications that Extreme sells separately into the cloud free of charge. So I'll show you an example today with our air defense WIPS technology, and we're getting more in actually the release next week. So things like guest and location. So in addition to all the tools that are already offered in the cloud, we're continually updating that as well for customers. In terms of why people are moving to the cloud, I'm not going to go through these, but this is kind of what we got from feedback from partners and customers when they were moving from kind of a controller-based on-prem model more towards cloud. The simplicity, you can pre-provision gear before you even get it. When you plug it in, it kind of pulls down the config, you're up and running in a matter of minutes. Speed in terms of new features, bug fixes, a lot more rapid. We can push that out without affecting your network at all. So again, no downtime associated with that. A variety of APIs. Our cloud is actually built on a fully open and RESTful API platform. So it's always available for integrations with third-party services. Scalability is also great. We have customers with 3 access points that they manage in the cloud. We also have customers with thousands of access points, routers, and switches. You never hit a maximum where you need to purchase another management box or things like that. So definitely some benefits from the scalability perspective. Security, had a very big push in security in the last 3 years related to cloud networking, cloud management in general. We are the only independent vendor that actually has achieved an ISO 27001 certification on our management application. So really proud of that. And then from a savings perspective, I sit more on the product side, but I'm sure Jerry and team can put together a nice monetary package related to the solution, but typically do see some savings moving from more of a hardware-based management approach to a software-based approach. So last slide before I jump into the actual tool. This is kind of our goal. What we're driving towards is this end-to-end managed cloud-driven opportunity where we have all of our different hardwares that kind of sit along the bottom of this, whether it's wireless, IoT, mobility. We have campus and edge switching, data center, and SD-WAN as well. And it all kind of moves up into this single management plane that has the different deployment models, the different capabilities, and then integrating all the other features and benefits that people know Extreme for, and making this single massive platform that makes your life a lot easier as a network administrator. That's kind of what we're striving for. Any questions on any of that so far before I jump into the XIQ platform?
No, I don't think so. Can you hear us okay?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, and so just to backpedal just a little bit, we did try to answer the question as to what we have on site. We do have we are mostly Cisco based. We do have some Dell switches. We have an Aruba wireless controller that has what is that? Airwave, and via the mobility controller. So
Okay.
as far as network what was the question? Network management type stuff.
Mhm.
Matt's done a really good job of putting together we have a server that is running a service called Cacti. So we generate some cool stuff off of that. That's been a huge learning curve for Matt. Thank goodness he headed that, because I had very little learning to do. I get to see all these cool outputs that he's generating for us. So that's just kind of the layout of what we got. For the most part, I believe our network is rather flat. But yeah, just throwing that out there to answer the question that you had initially asked. We did try to chime in there, but we had technological issues out of our control. Semi-joke there,
problem.
sorry, I'm not that funny.
No, that's good. Gives us a little bit more background there. Okay, so I'm going to close out of the slides, get to the more exciting part of the presentation, at least I think so.
Oh, this is cool.
I'm opening up a live network that we have. So this is Extreme Cloud IQ. You see Pilot, it's the paid version of it. We have a free tier that does like basic visibility management. There's none of the data analytics or anything like that. So this is the tier that you pay for management. And this is kind of our Network 360 tool. So this is where you land, you log in, have some different categories across the top with network health scores. Down below, let me jump back out to global view first. You can look at your global network. If you have, different buildings, different locations that you're managing from this platform. And then you can also drill down into specific locations. So this, for example, has an elementary school, middle school, high school, all on this system. And you can move between the different maps or organizations or buildings, however it's set up in the tool. And this took me to a topology view to start with. So this one, you can see your access points, how they're connected to a particular switch, if there's routers, if you're VPN'd anywhere. So this topology view covers both extreme gear and non-extreme gear in terms of visibility. You would be able to label a specific switch as a different vendor. You wouldn't get client information off of it, just basic LLDP data, but you'd at least be able to see kind of the hierarchy of what your devices look like and how they're interacting with one another. You can also click into particular devices to get more information. In this case, you can see the client health of people that are connected. You can see any VLANs that are assigned. If you want to take actions, you can do it from a topology view, even something like a VLAN probe. And then you can do the same things for links. If I can get that to pop up, you can see it's connected. You can see it's connected from this to this, port information, port speed. I can get some more information on power, the power supply status here. So again, we try to make the tool really interactive, try to expose what we think is important, and then you can, of course, drill down to get more granular data at any time. I move over to a map view. So this is the same little classroom, but now I'm looking at it on the floor plan. I can see where my access points are placed. Looks like there's only one person in this classroom right now, but I can also look at a time lapse over time. So the last 24 hours, still not a ton of people in here, COVID most likely, but you can see as people move throughout this particular classroom or area, as they associate to different access points, those would show up as what we call blooms. So this is a cool way to kind of track traffic, particularly if you're looking at, a building that has a lot of users, you'd be able to actually watch the flow of people as they move through different hallways or different areas. That's kind of our time lapse. If you pause it, you can always click on an access point to see exactly who's connected. And then you'll also see that same health score, always color coded, red, orange, or green, depending on what their score looks like. And I had mentioned, clicking on something for more granular information. If I click on Jimmy, for example, it's going to open up a different tool. So I was in Network 360. It's kind of the network overall. Now I just opened up Client 360. So this shows me Jimmy's on a Chromebook. I can see his IP and MAC address, his username. I could click on that since it's a hyperlink. He's been connected for 47 minutes on this VLAN, this user profile, this SSID. Here's where he's located. And then the right-hand side is more detailed information about Jimmy's connection status. So I have a mini topology view on the top. This is his Chromebook connected to this access point, to this switch, and then back to the internet. And then down below, I get actual session details. I can also change the time range. So if I move to a month, I can go up to 90 days right now of data. If I want to go back to a week, I can change it to 2 days if I want, down to a single day, or look at the last 7 days. So you can choose the time range of the data that's being displayed, and all of the information below dynamically updates based on that range. So as I move down the page, I can look at the session usage for Jimmy. Change to a longer period of time, see if he's been on campus longer. But this one is going to show most usage, maybe most time spent at one specific time, or I can do a selected time where I actually choose on the graph a specific location. So if you have a student or a staff member, maybe that's complaining about a connection, you can actually go in here and say, when were you experiencing the problem? Let me go back in time and actually look at the data during that connection to see maybe what was going on. So you can look at RSSI, signal to noise ratio, Wi-Fi health over time, his transmit speeds. So a lot of good information here. You can also look at the roaming information for Jimmy specifically. Again, it's color-coded, association, authentication. I can even open this up and look at the duration, 116 milliseconds, using 2.1x. So again, just what we think is most relevant about this client. It's going to pop up in this Client 360 tool, network usage over time, what he's actually doing on the network in terms of application traffic, and then also what his client is capable of achieving. This one's a unique feature for us. This isn't how he's connecting to the network, but it's what his chipset is available to provide. So it's an AC device, 2-stream. It is multi-user MIMO capable. And you can look at this from a full network perspective as well. So if you start seeing clients up, go ahead.
Alex, I'm really just curious right now because we do something like this. This would integrate with our Aruba wireless stuff?
So in terms of tracking the clients with this level of detail, no, it would have to be run over an extreme access point.
Oh, okay.
I'll show you what would be visible in terms of other hardware. It would mostly just be the number of clients connected. You wouldn't be able to drill down into exactly what they're doing on the network or what their device is capable of, unfortunately.
Okay.
So this is on an actual extreme architecture.
Would that be the same for collecting data on the LAN? Like if we are Cisco switches or Dell switches and the client's connected to there, if we were able to, and obviously I guess we haven't got to that yet, but for that client detail, would it be able to pull that more detailed information from a Cisco switch?
So not from Cisco. With Dell, we actually do have the ability to manage and view quite a bit more. It depends on the models. We could double check on that. We do have something coming next year. It's called Site Manager, and that will allow us to manage and have visibility of any third-party device that's coming in the next 2 quarters. But right now, it's just the extreme infrastructure in terms of all of this granular visibility and the analytics. But yeah, we could definitely keep you in the loop as it gets closer to GA and keep you tied in with that.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions when we start showing off this type of deep level of data analytics. We want it for their
yeah.
So yeah, we're definitely driving towards that.
Yeah, it's amazing where if you've been in this, just the what they've made GUI user interactive point and click type stuff. This is really cool.
Definitely. So yeah, that one was Client 360. I'll move back into kind of that Network 360 that I was showing off earlier. You can see we have the color-coded different categories across the top. I can always click on one of these again, and it shows me some of the calculations and algorithms that are computing that score. So right now my network is performing very well. I can see the internet availability score, availability and latency, if we ever have any problems there, the gateway availability per access point on this particular floor, and then even Ethernet modes, things like that. And again, you can always change the time range for a specific period of time to get more insight if you want to go back in history a little bit farther, or if you want to get very specific to the last 2 hours. So you can always change that within the interface. And I mentioned earlier the unlimited data horizon. So if you did end up purchasing this system in a year, you would be able to literally see 12 months worth of data. In 2 years, it would build out to 2 years. So for the life of the product, it would keep building out the system, so you'd have access to all of that data, which is pretty nice. Let's see, applications. This one's typically we get a lot of questions on in the education sector. We monitor over 2,700 different application signatures in the tool right now. And you can also enter custom application signatures if you have something on campus that's not in our database. So you'd be able to monitor how much data is being associated with a particular app, exactly what clients are using those. You can rate limit things, you can block applications. And the nice thing is you can do that at the network policy level. We also have something called user profiles I can show you that allows you to block maybe a certain age level or a certain location, but not others. So you can get pretty deep into what you
I'm going to
allow.
jump in here real. I want to jump in real quick. I think this is just a neat little. The question was just asked, what is SSL? Can you click on that application? Is that a link, and you get a description of that? There you go. Awesome.
So yeah, this one's more a generic kind of catch-all. So it's just the secure sockets layer. A lot of times with customers, these would have more custom apps. And once you enter those into the system, you'd be able to break that out into more specific application traffic. You can see exactly who these clients are, the usage of this, and then the top users versus top clients, and then chart that on your map as well.
Yep, cool.
And I can show you all the different applications, but you can do the same thing in all these different categories. So open it up. Wi-Fi health score is more application and network based. You can see clients, how they're associating, channel distribution, things like that. If you start getting more AX clients starting to show up on your network, you'd be able to see that in the client capabilities report. So even if you don't have 802.11 AX access points, we'd still be able to get that information from the client chipsets. So then maybe that would help you or encourage you to upgrade your AP infrastructure to serve the new clients that are coming in. Probably after this Christmas, you'll see as students return to campus, they'll have latest and greatest smartphones, laptops, tablets that probably have AX or Wi-Fi 6. So you'd be able to actually track that kind of increasing on your network, which is an interesting feature there. Let's see, also from this tab, might not have any Bluetooth devices, but you can actually track individual footfall traffic on a floor plan as well. It doesn't look like anyone's in here right now, but you'd see kind of a blue dotted line as it moves, and we call that client trail. So you can actually see the exact path someone took through a building or through campus by tracking them. Down below, I can look at different connected clients over time. Again, not a lot of people in here right now because it's pretty locked down, but this is our general Network 360 tool. If I go back over here, we also have the ability to view it kind of as a different scorecard. So same data, but now you just look at it more from a high level network perspective. And you'll see on a lot of these screens, you have this kind of filter icon here. So you can always go down and choose different locations. On different screens, you have even more granular filter capabilities. You can set up different filters to be pervasive across tabs as well, so that you can quickly access the information you need without having to, dive through log files or lots and lots of reports. So trying to keep it simple, again, more intuitive than other tools you might have seen. Let's see, I'm going to go to Comparative Analytics. This is something we introduced for cloud customers. You can anonymously choose to share some of your network statistics, and this allows you to compare or contrast across this one that we've selected, K through 12 education, 11 to 100 access points, look at clients with poor health, normalized bandwidth usage, unique client devices. You can look at that historically. We have data here. And this is something that the cloud enables us to look at. So we're able to connect anonymous client data or user traffic data. It's not tied to any particular user profiles or customer names, but then you can use that to kind of benchmark yourself against other people that might be similar to you from a network perspective. That's kind of one of the power of the cloud tools that we're starting to roll out in terms of more machine learning or AI-based calculations there. So that's kind of our ML insights. I'm going to move over to manage. So our manage tab has a lot of subcategories where you can move through devices, reports, clients, users, inventory. So this is where you go for more visibility really into what's happening on the network. And this gets a little bit more specific. So I just clicked on clients, and then I mentioned those filters earlier. You can not only do locations, you can also filter by device function, clients, OS types, connection types, SSIDs. So again, it's totally up to you how you want to view the data. But this is one of those nice features right now for COVID during the pandemic. If you have someone that comes to you and says, you know, I tested positive for COVID, you can actually go in here and say, you know, they were on campus last week. Let me look at this period of time. You can actually pull who they might have interacted with. So you can export this report out of the system. It's based on devices, of course, so they would need to have some sort of wireless device with them. And if you use any authentication where you can track users, you'd be able to get a full report list of who they might have come in contact to based on which access points they were authenticated to. This is one of our kind of occupancy management type tracking, contact tracing. You can also funnel this data into a third-party application. So we have some of our education customers using that right now if they ever have an instance where they need to alert someone that, you know, they might have been in contact with someone that tested positive for COVID. This is a good place to go here. And then you can also, of course, look at real-time data as well. You want to make sure there's not too many people in a particular location. You can also track through the real-time access here. See, we have another report we set up for client tracking. Same thing. If you need to look for a specific user, you can do that via MAC address, username, or host name, and you can pull who they've interacted with in the last 24 hours, 8 hours, 4 hours, going all the way up to 7 days here. So again, just trying to give our customers as much data as they might need to solve any issues that are coming up on campus with the current climate that we're living in here. Another cool tab for education in particular, we have an inventory list that you can look at things by device count, configuration, user profiles, depending on how you've set up your network, and then user groups as well, which I want to show you in the configuration tab. And then you can also look at, you know, your device count, so any different gear that you have deployed, different OSs you might be running based on location. This is an interesting tab that you can quickly see where all your gear is, if it's up or down, if you need to make any changes. That's a good way to look at it. And let me go back into devices. So I can give you an idea of the type of data you would see on more of a third-party device. Get rid of this filter. I actually don't think we have any Dell switches in this particular version. I can look for one a little bit later. If I open up switch, for example, so these previously, we weren't able to have any visibility into what was happening on the switch, but you'd see a basic breakdown of kind of what the piece of gear is, how long it's been connected. There's alarms. You can see kind of an overview of the different ports here. Since this is an XOS switch, you'd more be able to see what's happening but you wouldn't be able to take any action on the actual device. But again, if it's extreme gear, or in the case of, there's about 12 Dell switch models, you'd be able to actually go in and make configuration changes here. So it just depends on what type of capabilities you're looking for. Clients, you'd be able to see what clients are connected, if they're connected or disconnected, but you're not going to get the more granular application traffic or the actual data usage that's happening here. Does that answer your question about those more third-party devices?
Yeah, so the question was brought up, can you disconnect a client?
Not from a third-party device, no.
Let's see what that looks like on the extreme. I mean, we don't have to go through the whole thing, but let's see what that looks like just since the question was asked.
Disconnecting a client from a switch that's in the network?
Yeah, or is this production? Yeah, I mean, we don't actually have to do it, but the question would raise, and so I would like the tech to see what that looks like, or what that just the screenshot looks like. Not like a screenshot, but where that page is. If you're going to do that.
I'll show you that in the configuration tab. So I'll definitely do that. Let me see what else I was going to show in this manage side. We have diagnostic summary tools. This is a cool one, actually. So we have Client Monitor, which is a tool that we include in here for free. And this allows you to track any issues that might be coming up on your network over a specified period of time. We monitor, I think, 45 plus issues. These all look like they're association problems right now. But you can always click on a client MAC address, and it will do a breakdown of when a problem might have occurred, if, when it was detected, the description of the problem, in this case, 802.11 capabilities, and if the client and the AP don't match. So I think it looks like in this case, we probably turned off maybe 802.11n or something on an AP. And so the client's not able to connect. It allows you to take action, assign case numbers. So this is also a tool that you can give like your help desk on campus access only to this tool within the XIQ platform. We have different role-based access levels that you can assign, full user rights. Some people can just have visibility to the data. Help desk, they get this tab in particular. So this is a cool one for kind of taking the guesswork out of what's happening with a client. We'll actually call out, not a lot of issues listed here right now, but maybe the client's entering the wrong password, or they're having a radius authentication problem or DHCP. It would show up in this history report, and then you'd be able to see that very specifically for a particular user. Then kind of along those lines, there's also a universal search bar across the top. So if someone calls in and says, hey, I'm having an issue, you can search for them. Since I know we looked up Jimmy earlier, I remember him from the network. So I can actually put Jimmy into the search bar, and then I'd be able to actually look up his device or his username, and then open up one of those Client 360 tools that we looked at earlier. So that's another way. There we go. There's this Chromebook. So it open up back to what's happening with that particular user. I can also do that for an application. So if you have a specific application on campus that you want to be able to track really quickly or see what's happening, you can click on the search bar, and then it will, what happened to that? It will pull up the application. Here we go. And then you'd be able to see exactly what's happening with that specific application. So again, users, applications, devices, there's a particular AP that has been causing problems. You can search that in that universal bar as well. So a lot of different ways to access the same information. We just try to give you a couple different options for how to access it. All right, let me go into configure and walk you through a couple examples here. So this is where you would manage all of your different network policies. I'll just go into one of them here. You can do wireless switching and routing all from this single kind of configuration workflow. If I go into wireless, this is where you would set up your SSID, broadcast name. If you want to do different authentication protocols here, you can do the radius authentication, set this up here. We have things called user profiles. So this SSID is Madison Elementary School staff. But underneath that SSID, we have a couple different groups. So maintenance, they go in here. If they have a particular device, looks like we have a district device policy, they get put into this bucket. General staff goes here. If a student device, the teacher gives them the password to the staff SSID, they're actually going to get separated out. And we're able to do this all underneath the SSID level. So you're not creating all that overhead traffic of having 12 different SSIDs on campus. So this is something that's, we do a little bit differently in terms of configuration. And it also ties back to the authentication protocol. So one of the things that we have patented is private pre-shared key. This is kind of a bridge between WPA2 and 802.1x. It does not require certificates, but it gives us the capability of generating and distributing unique keys for each user or device. And the platform actually generates and distributes those keys for you. You can do it via text message, via email. You can print out codes that front office admin staff gives to people as they walk into the building. We also have a kiosk app where someone scans a QR code to self-authenticate to the network. This is a really cool feature. You can max out numbers of devices that can associate using that password. And once, like maybe you set that to three people use that key or 3 devices use that key, and then the student is not allowed to onboard any more devices using their password. You can have that be location specific, time specific. They can self-expire after 24 hours, 30 days, 9 months. It's totally up to you to choose how you want to segment that traffic. We have a lot of education customers using this for guests that come on campus so that they're time sensitive, they self-expire. These are also a really great option if you guys have dorms and you want people to onboard their personal devices, so things like printers, Xboxes, other gaming devices. This is a way that they can utilize a more private, secure network without using 802.1x to authenticate to the network. We also have something that goes hand in hand with this. It's called PCG, or private client groups. That's also great for dorm networks. The student basically has their own private network in their room, and no one can, log in and access their printer or their Xbox. So it's using micro-segmentation. Someone can get general internet access, but you have your own private network for your devices that live in your dorm room. So that's kind of something that goes hand in hand with private pre-shared key. It's a lot simpler to roll out, and it takes the security vulnerabilities out of, hey, everyone in this dorm, you use password 123, and everyone just jumps on it and uses it for whatever they want. So you can have more individual tracking of what clients are doing as well if you utilize something like this on campus. Any questions on that or anything in the wireless portal here?
I don't think there's any question. We don't got any questions, but we got a lot of oohs and ahs going on over here.
That's good. Yeah,
That's
a good one.
I did have a singular question because I don't know if I just misunderstood or misrepresented what you were stating about devices being specified under a certain network name. You said that when they connected to the NEMI staff, they'd be redirected to the, you said when they connected to the staff Wi-Fi, they'd be redirected to the student Wi-Fi?
Yeah, so this particular school is doing that. It's something you can customize. So what we use is by utilizing these user profiles, we basically set up restrictions that if we know this is a student device and they're trying to authenticate to the staff network, we're actually just going to put them back in their own student bucket. And so we can do that per, their username, the MAC address of their device, maybe the location, they're in the dorm. So it is a student and they're trying to get on a different network. And then like maintenance staff, for example, they're separated into a different bucket. So maybe they can't get access to a particular campus resource. So you can really mix and match how you want to set these types of things up, but you definitely can redirect someone back to the appropriate, I call them buckets, but the appropriate policies or rules for them based on who they are.
Okay, thank you so much.
No problem. So let me move into device templates. I think we have some switches in here. Yeah, so this is where you would actually configure a switch from the device side. You'd be able to set it up. Also the port configuration. This one's a little bit more visual in terms of clicking on a particular port, choosing the port type, access, trunk, that you're enabling it, the VLANs, everything. And you can set up templates as well to apply across different switches, different buildings, different locations. We also have the ability to do supplemental CLI or SSH to any devices as well, if that's something you're more comfortable with versus using an actual GUI interface that we've set up here. So we do give that option for all of the hardware as well, directly from this system. And then as you kind of work through the different policies and whatnot, we have, again, what we think is most important up front, but then of course you can jump into additional settings. We have, get down far into the weeds here in terms of management options. Here's the private client groups I mentioned earlier, setting that up. You have tutorials that actually walk you through how to enable a specific feature. So anytime you see the purple camera, we have a little video set up to help you walk through that. QoS, security, so you can really spend hours setting up a network, or we have customers do it in 20 minutes and get it up and running. So it's really up to you. And then deploying policy. Also, some people get a little confused with the cloud. Like when I say we do updates every 2 weeks, we don't actually ever touch the customer network. You have full control over your what you're pushing out to your pieces of hardware. We're just adding maybe a feature or functionality in the cloud, but it doesn't affect any of your live networks. You can choose when you want to do updates to the software, if you want to do a configuration update, make a change to a particular location. That's complete control of the customer here. Any questions just on the deployment of policy?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, let me move. I know we only have a couple more minutes. I did want to show one of the containerized applications that we've integrated into the cloud. So this is Extreme Air Defense. This was a separate WIPS application that's available for purchase. We still have it available, kind of a full-fledged version, but we're starting to put these into the cloud. So in addition to what we can do from a WIPS perspective already natively here, we've done a first integration here where you can look at particular alarms based on locations. You can set up different levels of critical, major, minor info, alarm severity. You can look at alarms by device types. You can label some as frequently seen, location count, kinds of things. So this is one of the benefits of having a cloud, particularly a 4th gen cloud, because we're using those containers. We're able to add more features to the cloud a lot more rapidly, and you don't have to purchase, different systems to do different things on the network. So this is just the first one we've released here. Location and guest are coming out next week. And then we have an IoT compliance application that's coming out as well. You basically just say, I want to opt in to this tool. It's totally free, but it gives you access to the software on the back end. So you can utilize different systems and applications on a single pane of glass. So that's something that we're working on right now with the cloud. We also have a cloud-based NAC as well that can be tied in. So you can do more specific NAC-based solutions. So if you want to quarantine devices that are out of compliance, things like that, you would do that through the A3 tool. So again, just trying to put all of the different things that we do into a single place. So it's more of a self-service, one size customizable type of portal rather than here's what we do, this is what you can access, and that's it for the life of the product. Let me show you really quickly Cloud View. This is an anonymous look at some of our different customers. So total managed devices that are up right now, people using PPSK, active clients. You can see some of the locations of the deployments that are in this particular data center. I can look at my management events. So this is where we're able to, again, anonymously track. See, there's 4 billion per day roughly. That's people changing channels, changing, network policy. And we're able to then create these benchmarks of what's normal and what's not. And what our goal is that we'd be able to detect anomalies. We have a program right now in beta where our support team is actually calling out to customers proactively and saying, hey, we see this issue in your network, or we predict you're going to have an issue in the next couple of weeks. Can we make a recommendation for you to change something on your network? Or can we help you if you're experiencing any problems? So that's what we're going to launch next year. It's called Copilot. So we kind of have this theme running. This is pilot. Copilot's going to have some more AI type features in there. But we're trying to make the network smarter, trying to make the mundane tasks of the IT administrator or network admin a little bit easier. So try to solve some problems before they actually happen. That's kind of our cloud view there. And let me show you. Last thing is our dashboard. This is another just quick place that you can go to see what's happening on the network. We have the same filters here across the top, but I can look at a particular location. Get out of the switch view. I can see, my different equipment that's up and running, how much application usage is running at any given time, top usage by clients, top application traffic, see what's happening on campus, Wi-Fi clients by OS, wired clients, access point usage, data usage over time. This is good for capacity tracking as well. And this one you can actually look at and see if there's one AP that's constantly being overloaded. From a COVID perspective, maybe go encourage people to spread out. From a network perspective, maybe add another access point nearby to take some of the load. So again, some more insights into what's happening on the network. And that's the dashboard. Again, high level overview, somewhat similar to Network 360, but this one isn't just location specific. It can be network policy, can be device function, cloud config group specific. So just a different way to access that data. Jerry, anything else you wanted me to cover?
So I believe they had one question that they wanted you to show them if they had a client that they needed to drop.
Yeah, so what we were thinking on that and what I was asking about was if we were seeing traffic, network traffic from a device that was we were seeing it was kind of malicious in intent, and we wanted to kind of block them off so that we could then get them in and scan their device or whatever with what we needed to do there. Is there that possibility of a device through the Extreme system to be able to block that device from the network just to kind of overall get it off of there temporarily or whatnot?
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I misunderstood the first time. So for that, you would need to use A3, which is the NAC solution. I don't have that open right now, but we can definitely show you at a different time. So quarantining devices that look suspicious, if you were to know the user and you can see that username, you could go in there and block them from utilizing a specific application. And yeah, you can do that automatically based on a scan, but you're going to need the NAC or the control integration to do that.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Any other questions that y'all have?
Yeah, so just to be clear, you couldn't do that like based off the MAC or the IP address, well, maybe not even the IP address. Off the MAC, you couldn't disable the client's NIC to some degree. We use that on our controller right now. Like we reach out to our cadet, Matt gets an alert or he's watching these thresholds, we reach out to the cadet and we're like, hey, come in. We want to run scans on your machines or run a scan and send us the screenshots. And if we don't get a response within like, Matt's usually pretty good, probably within like 18, 24 hours, Matt will disconnect or he will not allow that device on the wireless network. And then that kind of forces the cadet to come in. Can that not be done without without the NAC?
So you can, so yeah, I think I'm getting a little more information. So like, for example, if this particular student or MAC address that you're tracking, they're using like 47 gigs of data. Depends on how they're authenticating to the network. You can reject a PPSK, for example, and then they won't be able to authenticate again and they'd be forced to come in. So that more depends on how you have the policy set up.
Okay.
But yeah, you can set like, let's say he's using a PPSK, particularly for like a personal device. You just go in and you blacklist or you reject that PPSK, you let it expire, right when you hit it, then they will not be able to get on the network again. So that is one way that you could definitely force someone to come in. Because once they can't connect to the Wi-Fi, it's the end of the world.
Yeah, are you guys using client endpoint security at this point?
Yes, we for our endpoint security, we use Kaspersky, and that's distributed to all endpoints that we currently have on our network.
Okay, so you've got policies in place for the users.
Yes.
Okay.
For the inside the endpoint security, yes, we have certain policies set up for. What specific policies are you referencing?
Well, I'm just asking.
Because we do have some, but we don't have others. So
sure. I mean, as far as like a policy for the cadets themselves, right? And you would have that client loaded, and obviously certain things wouldn't be allowed. But I'm thinking through how that might be set up. I know Tanium and a bunch of other endpoint software options are available, obviously depending on the OS, right? Obviously, we're talking about this from a networking standpoint, and so I'm just trying to get a feel for what your clients look like.
Yeah, we do. Our endpoints policies we do have specific policies set aside for the cadet computers that are out there on our network.
Okay.
So yeah,
they also have a certain
naming
naming scheme as well.
Go ahead, Alex. You were saying.
Oh, I was just gonna say there's definitely a couple different ways we could set that up. I just need more information on exactly what you're looking for that. But yeah, I mean, I just did kind of a general overview of some of the things that I think are most popular when I'm talking to kind of education specific customers or campus deployments. But definitely, if you have more questions, send them our way. And Jerry is recording this, so we can send you the recording to go back to and reference as well.
So I'm just going to take a moment, and I don't mean to open Pandora's box, and by no means we are aware and like making a transition to upgrading our wireless, our Aruba infrastructure. It would be I would be interested in like some sort of I'm getting tongue twisted here. Like I would be interested in seeing what an extreme wireless network would look like. We're probably a year or so maybe before we were gonna, start really moving on the upgrade for what's in place now, and we really felt like we were gonna just be upgrading Aruba to its next, not latest and greatest, but solid and not secure. What's the word I'm looking for? Stable. There you go. Thank you, Matt. And so, but watching this presentation, I would like to see a little bit more, and consider rolling out, like, I mean, so there's potential that we might be looking at an extreme wireless infrastructure. Again, I'm not, you know, I mean, I'd just be curious and want to take a peek at that. We are looking, you know, our Aruba system from our oldest AP is probably 5 or 6 years old. So we were looking, you know, to start rolling out an upgrade as far as controller and access points. But now you've really piqued my interest, and I think Matt might be on board with at least getting an idea of what Extreme has to offer. Aruba's been very, very good to us. It alleviated, we probably saw like a 80% decrease in user or client job requests as far as wireless problems, the coverage we were getting. But what we're looking at is really intriguing. So,
And just to make sure that I'm understanding, so we're initially looking at this for our gaming network. If we set up, we get kind of the gaming package we were talking about with like 2 switches, maybe 1 wireless access point. Will that automatically come with like the initial tier of XIQ? And how does that work?
So yes, so when we send you the quote over, we still need to get with y'all and see which package you want to do. If you want to do like the club performance or competitor. And then what we'll do is then XIQ comes with that, and then we would include the pilot's license that would have this on there. And so that's what we wanted you to see, what you would have with that visibility. And as far as getting together and, you know, looking at what the network would look like, you know, Michael's local, and he was there as well. So we can sit down and do that for you and show you how that would look. But you would have this visibility with the gaming system.
Okay, great. Yeah, I was just thinking it would be good to get it in and play with it and kind of work with it, and then kind of grow it out from there if we need to.
Yep, for sure.
Yep, and I apologize, guys. I have to jump. I have another call that I'm moving over to. I'm going to jump off, Jerry. But if there's any follow-up questions, just send them my way, and we'll make sure that we address them. But thank you guys so much for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Alex.